of my employers, past, present, or future, or any of their representatives. Always consult with your provider for personalized medical advice.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Tad, and I am the host of this podcast. Thank you for joining. Today's podcast the show title is this: Why Americans are Drinking Less Alcohol and what it says about society. Here is the main idea. Alcohol used to be a central part of social life in America. So why are more people walking away from it? It's like this. When it comes to alcohol, well, let me just give you some reflection about what I have going on. I've been away. The show has been not consistent. It's the first show in months, but this is the new season. And I've been wanting to broaden the conversations that we're discussing, right? And so now I'm going to focus on more of a health plus society plus psychology plus culture, and let's kind of broaden this show out. And frankly, I've been away because over the past 4 months, I've become a dad for the second time. Praise God for that. And as you can imagine, my life has just been, the dad life, lack of sleep, and not mention working a full-time job, being a nurse practitioner. It's just been hectic, right? And so I decided that at this time, it was better just to kind of let the show go on a hiatus. But with God's blessing, here I am today. So we're looking forward to it. And so thank you for joining. Let's talk about this. One thing I've noticed lately is that more people, especially younger people, they aren't just drinking alcohol the same way they used to. Now, what's your thoughts on that? Is that true? Is that not true? Are people drinking less than what they used to drink, specifically the younger people? And honestly, I think that says something bigger about where society is heading and all. That's what I think. So the question is, or the topic is, people are more health conscious now than ever. And that's evident by what we see. What do we see that shows that people are more health conscious than ever? Well, think about it. You got fitness culture. It's exploded. I turn on my TikTok and most of the times I see, fitness. I see diet, everyday people, meal prepping, making meals, and just, I remember lots of these captions is the alcohol used to be something that I did on the weekends, but now that I'm a dad, I want to be the type of dad that my kids are proud of. And really when it comes to me, I stopped drinking alcohol. And I haven't. I really drink maybe 1 or 2 times a year now, it seems like. And that's not to knock against anyone else, but the reason I stopped drinking, one of the biggest reasons, is because I just had too much going on. I was a nurse I was a nurse in the emergency room, not to mention I was, occupied by the normal lifestyle of a nurse in nurse practitioner school. So I had to really focus my thoughts on what I was doing. And I was learning so much, and you got clinicals, or you have clinicals, you have lectures, you got, didactic studies and everything like that. So it was just, and not to mention that, you got, interviews and consultations with, MDs and peers. And it's just a level of responsibility that for me, alcohol just wasn't contributing to me being it wasn't contributing to me being better at anything. Really, it wasn't. And if anything, it was just, taking away things from me. And, we'll get into that later. But some of the other topics, alcohol, why people have kind of steered away from it, the younger crowd, is because of sleep tracking. Alcohol, smartwatches. People have these smartwatches and it tells you how good you're sleeping. Gut health, it's another reason why people think about, whether or not they want to drink alcohol. Longevity conversations. And alcohol hurts recovery and sleep. I remember, and another reason, once again, I was in nurse practitioner school, but then I started training, working out, and my coaches would tell me, the one coach, he would tell me, hey man, alcohol does not contribute to you gaining any muscle. It doesn't contribute to you recovering, anything like that. And so alcohol just wasn't something that was going to give me any benefit. And, and then not to mention that, I was married. And so I just had a lot of stuff going on that I decided that, hey, alcohol it wasn't really doing anything for me. So, I mean, that's just how I feel. But, people are starting to connect alcohol with how bad they actually feel the next day, right? And so that's one of the big reasons why many people, don't drink alcohol, because you're gonna feel the effect next day, especially as the older you get. I remember I was a young kid, a younger adult, and I could, I had a high tolerance. I could drink alcohol. I was telling my wife I could drink an X amount of alcohol and be ready to go the next morning. But as you get older, it's obvious, I can't do that anymore. And so I think lots of the younger generation is realizing that a lot of people are prioritizing energy over partying, right? Because alcohol just emotionally and physically just takes, a lot out of you. I mean, yeah, it's a good feeling right now, or when you have alcohol, but then the next day you kind of suffer the consequences, and that's biblical too. That's a scripture about that. But some of the references about this is, the Surgeon General warning on alcohol and cancer risk, and this was. It's not trying to get political, but this was prior, I think, the prior administration. Remember, he was pushing the idea that alcohol, like small amounts, was having an increased risk of cancer. And so alcohol becomes something that you wonder, like, well, do I really need it? Do I really want to take that risk? Alcohol, once again, it's linked to poor sleep quality. Alcohol will make you fall asleep, but you won't, you don't stay asleep for long term. Then you have a harder time going to sleep. And like insomnia was one of the biggest medical problems that I've faced. And frankly, it might have been from the alcohol, to be honest with you. At least it contributed to it, but a lot of it was stress, or is stress. Working in emergency rooms, you go to sleep and you got to be ready to wake up. You get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, who knows what you're going to walk into. So stress dealt with that a lot. But, those are some of the biggest things that lead to poor sleep quality. Increased wellness trends among younger adults. So those are some of the reasons. So research has increasingly shown that even, once again, moderate amounts of alcohol can affect sleep, recovery, and long term. What's your experience? Is that accurate? I mean, that's what research shows, but what do you think about that? Something to ponder over. Economics and modern life. Everything is more expensive now. Everything is more expensive. Question is it worth it to drink? And I give you another example, like bars and clubs, right? Or maybe even going out to eat at the local restaurant. It's already expensive, the food is like more expensive. And I used to watch a TV program, I still do, but they actually like tell logistics and the explanation of how you get charged for the food at the restaurant, and there's no doubt about it, you're paying 3 times more than what it's worth. Let's just put it like that, to the best of my memory. So the food's already expensive, then you got to give the tip, at least respectfully. If you got good service, you want to give a tip. But then alcohol, I mean, it's like, a beer is going to probably cost you maybe $8 or something like that. Now, there may be occasions where they're cheaper. Like I can go to a minor league baseball game. We got the Fireflies for Columbus, South Carolina. Go Fireflies! And they have like $2 nights where you can get Bud Light. Okay, that's cool. But most places you go, you get a beer, it's going to cost you, $5 to $7. And then you got to pay, taxes, and you got to tip. So it's just expensive. And then if you get like a mixed drink, I mean, you're looking at, $14 or more, $12 at least. I mean, used to not be that expensive. And I was just thinking, how it kind of used to be, when it comes to those drinks. I saw those mixed drinks you get. One of the biggest gripes I had when I used to drink was this. It was like, I want to know what I'm paying for, right? So if I'm going to get a drink, I want to have an X amount of alcohol in it because I want to get my money's worth. But lots of the drinks, you're getting a lot of sugar with it. A lot of, you might be getting, one alcohol source, but then the rest of it is like, your juice, your mixer, your sugar, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, wow, this is expensive, and I'm not even feeling a buzz from this, right? So it's like, why even drink, And so not only that, young people are staying home more. people are on social media. The invention of programs like whatever you're looking at this on, TikTok, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, whatever, younger ones are staying home more now. And there's just that financial pressure of affording everything, right? And so, what I'm going to do, I guess I could Google it, but because I haven't personally bought any alcohol in probably 10 years of my life. Probably. The only time I've bought alcohol was been on a cruise, and that's just, that's just me drinking on a cruise. I'm talking about buying a bottle of alcohol. I haven't bought that in 10 years. So I don't even know the prices of it nowadays. So, I don't know. Let me see if I can find it. How much does a bottle of, let's see, I'm just going to put liquor cost. Just straight searching on the internet, and it changed a budget brand anywhere between $15 to $25 per 750 ml. And so, you know what? And you can go to bulk retailers, and so, so you can get that budget brands, mid-range, 25 to 40, premium 40 to 100. But once again, you got to think about it. Once again, like me, just think about financial pressure. It's probably economically, no, it is economically more sane to just buy a bottle rather than buying a drink. $15 you get 750 mLs as opposed to, paying $15 for a mixed drink, and you're getting 1 ml, 2 mLs or whatever, And so, but then again, you got a whole bottle now. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to share? Are you going to drink the whole thing? And once again, I'm not advising anyone to do anything. I advise you, frankly, don't drink. If anything else, and if you're going to do it, drink it in moderation. The CDC recommends 1 to 2 drinks for men at the most daily. That's what they recommended. And who knows, that may have changed now. And then females, 1 drink a day. And so, yeah, being, and that's something I learned in nurse practitioner school. I might want to add. I remember some of those case studies where you can't call anyone a alcoholic, right? Unless they admit it. Long story short, unless another, I guess, a physician, 2 of them put it on there. But I remember case studies of a resident doing an assessment of someone, and they come back to tell the lead physician he's an alcoholic. When the lead physician goes and asks them, "Are you an alcoholic?" They say, "No, I just drink, my shot of brandy every night." Was that alcoholism? No, that's just how they drink. And so, once again, financial pressure. Is it worth it to buy that amount of alcohol? And then what do you do about it? People can't afford to destroy their productivity for 2 days after drinking anymore. And that's real. So once again, you're going to feel the side effect. And so we're talking about, this topic, once again, the idea that, why are Americans drinking less alcohol? And what does that say about society? So let's talk about this now. The next topic that we're going to discuss is how social media change the drinking culture. So social media, and I think it's true, less partying culture. Think about it, and I don't know, I'm on social media, but I don't really see a whole bunch of partying, I think. Once again, and maybe it depends on, what you search. I have, I guess, guardrails up on my social media. It just doesn't anything play. If I see something I don't appreciate for one reason or another, I flag it, and social media doesn't play it on my reel anymore. And so I don't see the partying culture, but I do see more health and self-improvement culture, right? And so I do see a lot of sober curiosity, and I see a lot of rise in non-alcoholic beverages. I do see that. Question though, if you drink non-alcoholic beverages, what type of non-alcoholic beverages do you drink? Because I've seen, so many, some of them have those, like the ashwagandha and such inside their, drinks, so I guess those are more alcoholic replacements. But then I see some alcohol or some non-alcoholic beverages, and they are basically they're they're taking the word of alcohol, but it doesn't have any alcohol in it. It's in other words, it's a bottle that looks like tequila, and I'm not saying any general names because I can't think of them. I never purchased one, but it looks like a bottle of tequila, but it's not tequila, right? It's just replacement. And apparently, you got to view what the reviews say. And so, myself personally, I've never purchased any of them because I look at the active ingredients, like what's in the ingredients. A lot of times, it's a whole bunch of preservatives, right, and whatnot. So I'm like, well, why do I want to put all these preservatives in my body, pretending like it's alcohol when it's not really alcohol? So, I guess social media has definitely changed what we see with alcohol and how people perceive it. And so that's just, I guess, something to think about. The image of success has changed. All right. There's no doubt about it. The image of success has changed. People used to flex partying. Now they flex discipline. I mean, that's at least what I see whenever I look at social media. I see people flexing discipline more than flexing their lifestyle of drinking alcohol, with the exception of Epcot. I must admit, I do see people drinking around the world at Epcot. Once again, I got nothing against Epcot. And by the way, yeah, that's another time I'll be frank. Yeah, I have had drinks around Epcot, but once again, like, do I have a drink after I leave? Nope, I don't. Because once again, I guess for me, alcohol is more of a, whenever I'm like, if I'm at a certain point or area, I might have some alcohol. But even now with children and being a dad times two, it's like, I don't, I mean, the thing about having kids is this, man, you never know. I mean, you might have an idea. Like right now, like, listen, I'm up until 1 a.m. in the morning every day. Even when I have to work the next morning, I might add, doing a feed for my son. My daughter, like, I'll put her to sleep, and sometimes, who knows, God forbid, she might get sick. And so she wakes up and she's sick. And so, what I'm trying to say is there's that level of discipline that me personally, I don't want to wander outside of being prepared by, having the effects of alcohol. And that's just me. But frankly, I see that a lot on social media. People would rather be sober and they'd rather take care of themselves. They'd rather eat well. They'd rather sleep well than, enjoy the temporary enjoyment of alcohol. So once again, this is like not what I'm saying. This is not what Tad's saying. This is statistics. People in America are not drinking as much alcohol as they used to. So that's what it is. So is this good or bad? This lack of drinking alcohol? Let's keep it balanced. Good. It's good that people are having better health awareness. Number one, you want to be aware of your health. And especially, anything you put into your body, you want to, I can tell patients all the time, everything has a side effect. Patients say, oh, I'm afraid this medicine. Well, the medicines you take have side effects too. It's just that the risk outweigh the benefits. So alcohol is the same, alcohol is good for a case, just for example, if, you were in wilderness, the wilderness, and you had some type of cut. Okay, well, you ain't got nothing else. Alcohol, you can use that to help sterilize, right? Try to avoid the sugary ones, but you could use it. I say you couldn't, right? And so that's something to think about. But it's good to be health aware and realize, what's going on. Making a decision rather than blindly following the path of everyone else. The good, once again, is less reckless behavior. Alcohol does stun your part of your brain that allows you to make good clinical or good decisions, right? Stuns your equilibrium. Think about it, ATP and like muscle recovery, right? Like, especially if you're trying to be healthy and you're trying to gain like muscle, you're trying to have a nice physique, right? If you're trying to do those things, alcohol is not going to help. It doesn't help. There is no, second thoughts about that. So that's something to think about. The good is better sleep, productivity. If you are not drinking alcohol and you sleep better, then it's going to stand to reason that you're more productive. You'll get things more accomplished. If you can get up earlier and, go to sleep, get your work done without waking up and starting off slow, because you got a hangover, well, you're going to be more productive, right? So that's the good, but we got to worry about isolation concerns. So like we said, most people are staying in the house. Well, lots of people are staying in the house more than they're going out. And so the question is like, when they're isolated, what are they doing with their time? You know, or what are you doing with your time? It's not saying that it's because, I guess the example would be, well, you know, everyone else drinks, so I don't want to be around anyone because I don't drink. It's a tough scenario. But once again, the problem is isolation concerns. That's not healthy either. That's in-person socializing. Once again, if you don't socialize, then you lose the ability to socialize. You lose the ability to establish relationships. You isolate yourself, and then everything becoming digital. Everything being on there, and everything is digital now. That's a concern. The challenge now is making sure people don't replace alcohol with isolation. And so, like I said, it would stand to reason that you would, want to not isolate even if you don't drink alcohol, you know. So, and I think I've already said it. Once again, my personal tie-in is, me becoming a father, focusing more on health, performance, by me, working out, and then the responsibilities I have in my career and also at my church have a lot or had a lot of responsibilities to where alcohol, once again, it wasn't contributing to anything meaningful for me. And frankly, I think me being a nurse, honestly, especially in the ER, remember, lots of times people use alcohol to cope. And I can't say I did not do that, sometimes. And once again, healthy, I didn't do anything unhealthy, but, once again, you got to realize like, all right, it's helping me cope in the moment maybe, but is it helping me long term? And then for me, my answer was no. So it just didn't fit into the life that I wanted to live the same anymore. And as a result, me personally, I let it go. That was just me personally. So the tad bit takeaway is this. Here we are, the tad bit takeaway. I think the decline in alcohol use tells us something important about modern society. People are becoming more aware of how lifestyle choices affect energy, mental health, sleep, productivity, and long-term health. But at the same time, we still need real connection, community, and balance. Because health isn't just about avoiding bad habits, it's about building a life that you don't constantly feel the need to escape from. And maybe becoming just a tad bit smarter means paying closer attention to what truly improves our quality of life. Thanks for joining me this time. Look forward to the next time. I'll see you on the Tad Bit Season 3 and forward. Bye now.